Hello FPL managers and welcome to a Game Week 31 preview and a Game Week 31 review. So unfortunately we finished on our lowest total score ever. It does say 0 points, but it was actually a -4. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. -4 in a game week. No one getting any returns here. Not even a clean sheet despite McCarthy not conceding any goals. A game week rank of just under 7 million. Their goals are greenhouse, a 45,000 rank drop. But of course, I'm joking. The fact that we're not going to get football, we're not going to get game week 30, not going to get game week 31, unlikely we're going to get game week 32. But I just wanted to do a little video, just my thoughts on what maybe will happen or what I think should happen about the Premier League, and also a rundown on what the Fantasy Premier League are actually doing. So, of course, we know that the leagues pretty much across the entire world are shut down in most sports, except, funny enough, I did the fan team Russian Premier League, and they're actually killing it. My captain got a 30-point haul, well, 15 points, so 30 points. My vice captain did well. So that's the only Fantasy Premier League stuff that is going on right now. But in terms of coming back to the official FPL game, they've said no game week 30, no game week 31, hopefully back for game week 32, but we still don't know. So unfortunately for the non-free hitters like myself, who had been preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks to get ready to not take a hit, now everyone's basically got a bunch of transfers and there's no blank game week 31, and there's going to be tons of double game weeks, maybe even triple game weeks before the end of the season. It's just unfortunate. It's not the biggest or most worrying thing at the moment. And for us that have got game week 31 teams, for example, triple Liverpool, triple Wolves, plus Pope for 7, is not really the worst. So it's still recoverable. It'd be interesting to see these double or maybe even triple game weeks. So that's where we stand at the moment. In terms of if we're going to come back on the 32nd, game week 32, sorry, I'm just unsure if that's going to happen. So what do I think is going to happen in the footballing world? Now, I saw somewhere that 14 teams is the majority vote to basically decide whether or not the Premier League is going to be made void. And I tweeted basically saying that was asking the turkeys to vote for Christmas. So you're going to have pretty much every team in the bottom 8 wanting to void the season because they're in a relegation scrap. You're going to have the likes of all the teams that are in the Champions League this season going to want to void the season because then they'll be back into the Champions League and the Europa League next year. So it's essentially only Liverpool and perhaps the likes of Sheffield United and Wolves who have a real chance of getting into the top 4 or at least European football, who are going to be voting to actually not want to void the season. And I just feel as though if you've played 29 games out of 38, you cannot void it. You know, if you use 29 out of 38 of anything, you can't take it back to the store. Do you know what I mean? So it just feels as though voiding it. And I don't know who could disagree that Liverpool, with the points advantage that they've got, are going to win the Premier League. But even if we just say, okay, fine, let's give Liverpool the Champions title, that doesn't sort out the European places, that doesn't sort out the relegation situation, and that doesn't sort out the ripple effect that'll cause in the likes of the Championship, League 1 and League 2. Are we going to bump up the Premier League? That's not really going to happen. Are we going to start in 2 weeks and just smash loads of double game weeks? Or if we postpone till, say, game week 34, are we just going to squash them all together? Ideally, that's not a good idea as well, because you're basically asking for injuries. So I know they've just had a winter break, but you're asking players to play 2-3 games a week, but not on the odd occasion. You're asking them to play 2 or 3 games a week for a couple of months, and that's not going to do anyone any good. So for me, I think Wayne Rooney, funnily enough, created the best suggestion. And yeah, the easiest way to do it is just to postpone the European Championships. It feels silly to start a new season without finishing something you've already almost finished anyway. You wouldn't do that in pretty much anything else. Why would you just reset and start something new when you're so deep into the season? And his idea was to just, even if they do the Euros, we could finish. They believe that Serie A in Italy, they're going to postpone it for basically a month. And that would mean that if they keep going at a normal pace, they'll finish by the end of June. And they could do the Euros straight after, maybe in July. But instead of starting the season again when we usually start, say, in August, push it back. Sort of maybe start in December, similar to what I believe the likes of North American football, so MLS, or I don't think they push it as back as some other leagues, but basically starting a league in December, and this will keep us in sync because we're going to have a World Cup, and that's going to be like a Winter World Cup, not a normal Summer World Cup. If we basically push back this year, the start of our Premier League and subsequent league start dates, then actually you'd sync up that we'd finish our competitions, our Premier League or FA Cup or Champions League, before the World Cup, Winter World Cup will start. So perhaps that might be the best suggestion, is to basically just push everything back a month or two, and that'll actually put us in good stead. So we wouldn't have a big winter break because of a World Cup, because we'd be in this cycle of starting our Premier League seasons in something like December or January, instead of starting it and then stopping it and then starting it and then winter break and then starting it, because that's what the Winter World Cup's going to do. So I think that's the best situation. But definitely, if I had to choose, I've not got any horses in this race. I'm not a Premier League fan. I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan, so it's not like I'm biased towards Liverpool or I'm biased towards Norwich. I love football, and I just want it to be fair. And I just feel as though voiding it is really not fair when you're this deep into the season. I would rather sacrifice or push back a year the European Championships and finish something. It feels silly to not finish something before time. Going on to what then the official Premier League game have said. Going through the points, I know you'll have seen videos with this before, but there was just a couple of points that irked me, that sort of really got to me. The key one that I'll move on to later on is basically the head-to-head leagues and the cup position that's done there. But pretty much everything is still on point. So they said for deadlines for game week 30 and 31 will remain the same. So we are still having game week 30 and 31, but there'll be no players, there'll be no games. Unfortunately, when I joked earlier about me having a -4, that was true. I made early transfers in preparation for price rises and getting ready for game week 31 blank. I just feel that sometimes I don't know if it's the coding of the website, or I don't know if it's the inability of the admin. I don't know what it is, but when we had, let's call it Hackgate, when a lot of the very, very popular FPL content creators or just FPL players that we all know got hacked, they said we can't reset those transfers. We can't reset those chips, which makes me, and they admitted, yep, you've definitely been hacked. We'll get your account back. We'll sort that all out. Why? Why can't they do that? So they've said the people that, for example, we took a hit, they couldn't have just said, all right, every transfer made after Monday or Tuesday, within reason, within a -8 that you've taken, will sort of negate that or give you a free transfer back. Just, it feels like there's no flexibility within the game itself. So game week 30 and 31 going ahead, I just don't understand why, instead of creating a bunch of double and triple game weeks, which might be exciting, which might be great, but just saying, okay, we've not had game week 30 or 31 yet, and just pausing it and shuffling everything down. So if we came back in game week 32, that wouldn't be game week 32, that'd actually be game week 30, and then just move it on that way. Because if they can't shuffle it down like that, what's going to happen when we get to game week 38, but actually in real football terms, it's game week 35, because it's 3 games late, 3 games left, but then the FPL game says, well, it's game week 38, so every single game remaining is going to be game week 38. Like, that is just going to, I think it's going to annoy a lot of people. I think it's going to make the season worthless, kind of like it feels maybe for a Liverpool fan right now. You've waited 30 years for a championship, one's come along, and all of this horrible situation has happened, that when you finally finish it, feels a bit bitter taste in your mouth. So if you've been planning and preparing and focusing on the entire Premier League season, and you get to game week 38, and it's a quadruple, game week. It's going to be really frustrating because that's not really how this game's supposed to be played. But we're all going to get a bunch of free transfers, so of course, I'm rolling my transfer. Don't use your transfers now because you don't know who's going to be sick. You don't know who's going to be back. When you get those 2 free transfers, though, you should use one. So if you've got 2 free transfers right now, use one because you'll get another free one next week. You might as well not lose it. So if you've got like Rico on your bench or Kelly on your bench, then now's the ideal time really to get them out. So going through the other things that the second point I was talking about, head-to-head leagues and FPL Cups. So people say make early transfers all the time. I did it myself to bring in the likes of Pope just to get ready for game week 31 and the future, because Pope and McCarthy will be my double keeper combo. But again, it's this inability. Why don't they pause the cup and head-to-head leagues? Why can they not freeze it? Is this something with the code or the staff or the admin? Is there something? This should be this ability to get within the game and change it. So head-to-head leagues and the FPL Cup. Imagine if you're in the cup, you're having a beautiful cup run. It's absolute fairy tale stuff, only to be found out that if you took a -4 like I did, you're out of the FPL Cup. Okay, why don't they just push it back to when the games start again? Now, you didn't take any hits, so you're on 0. You can't get any more points because no one's playing any games. Your opponent is on 0. So, why don't we just postpone it? No. Virtual coin costs. So, there's no skill in that. There's no preparation in that. It's a virtual coin cost. So, imagine if you've been really focused on the FPL Cup. Like, that's your thing. A lot of people love mini leagues. A lot of people just go for overall rank. A lot of people want to go for a cup. If you're still in the cup now, you're pretty excited about it. You've done a really great job. You've beaten live teams, inactive teams, dead teams, whatever you want to call them. You're still in the cup. It's really narrowing down. It's getting to the real meat and bones of the FPL Cup, only to go out on a virtual coin cost. And a virtual coin cost, if of course you've got the same score because it's 55 points to 55. I completely understand that happens. That is needed. But to do a virtual coin cost on 0-0 because they just don't push it back, I really don't understand. And if there's game weeks left to go in the original game, head-to-head leagues and FPL Cups also wouldn't be affected because it's done on your weekly score of who goes through and who goes out. So if they can sort out the official FPL scores, why can't they do that for head-to-head leagues and the FPL Cup? It feels like it's a really it's a poor bit of coding or program software or admin ability. I don't know what it is. Similar to transfers, wildcards, and chips. This is another big problem. This is the idea of if you would have hit your wildcard or a free hit for game week 30, and then the news came out on, I think it was a Thursday or Wednesday, right? And for that week, and it was cancelled. Nope, you've lost it. It's gone. I think I saw Fantasy Football Scout say something like 75,000 people had done a chip this week. I don't know why that is. If you've done it this week, then that's silly. But last week we didn't find out the news. It was during the game week, so it just feels. I don't know why we can't have the ability to get within the game and say, okay, everyone before Wednesday, because you can see when you've made transfers, you can see when you've taken hits and used chips. So it's got a time stamp on it, right? So I don't see. If I just check 100% or 99%, I don't say 100. It does tell you, it timestamps it. I brought Pope in 10th of March. At 1:08 p.m. that'll be UK time. So it timestamps things that you use. So I don't understand why it couldn't just reset that, basically. Maybe it's just because there's too many players, but I just feel as though there's some easy way to get around that. So basically, the rest of that they're saying rescheduled fixtures and postponed fixtures will come back in as double game weeks. So if that's the way they're going to do it, fine. Personally, I would have just pushed it back. So basically when football starts again, that would be game week 31. So if we go into, for example, Pope, But fixtures, instead of saying 31 non, where it said 30 non, 31 non, and then the fixtures with these at the bottom, I'd have just said Palace is 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, that way. And just pushed everything down instead of just typing non, having these TBCs here. If it's only going to be 2 games, then that's fine. I think we can be a little bit excited about it again. We can say, there's going to be a double game week. There's going to be more double game weeks. If this works out, I believe Burnley still wouldn't have a double game week. I'm not 100% sure, but there's going to be, unfortunately, some teams, I think like Manchester City, that have got so many games that they're going to have to make up because of the FA Cup and because of the Champions League. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. So there's surely going to be a triple game week, but that's Manchester City. We're not going to talk about them anyway because we don't trust Pep. So even if they have a triple game week, you might get one Man City player in. Or maybe that's when you're going to free hit. So it is going to be... The positive side is it's going to be exciting again because who knows what is going to happen in terms of double and triple game weeks. We're going to, if you've kept your free hit chip and your wild card, then it could be a great opportunity. If game week 37 was always already going to be the big double game week, there might be an even bigger double game week now that we can get excited about. The key thing is, though, guys, it is just a game, and our health is a lot more important than football or than a game. So please take care of yourself. I'm in Taiwan. We were one of the first countries to get this virus, and we've been really lucky to stop it at 50 at the minute, with sadly 1 death. But I know a lot of you guys are out in the UK or in Europe, so follow the guidelines that people are telling you to follow, and try not to be too selfish. The things that you see online of people, ripping tissue paper from old people, just remember that they're the ones that are in danger. Having this attitude of oh well, it's not going to kill me, it's not killed anyone under the age of 30, but I don't think you'd be saying that if you were blasé about it and then you go and get it and then you go and give it to your elderly neighbor, or if your parents are old enough, so my parents are in the sort of danger age, or giving it to a grandparent and then passing away. I don't think you'd be so merry about it at the moment. So just try and be kind to each other. A lot of you guys are in isolation right now. Get a book out, get looking at YouTube, get looking at videos and TV shows. I'm rewatching Narcos. I'm up to series 3 because I'm getting excited about Narcos Mexico. Just try and stay safe, guys, because it's not just about you. I know it's a real inconvenience that we've not got any football. We all love football. We all love FPL. Just bigger things in the world, and just think of your fellow people, not just yourself. If you're going out in packed places, remember you can be carrying it for 14 days and you're spreading it to the people that you love and care about, and you're going to feel really guilty about that just because you're selfish by not following the World Health Organization guidelines, things like that. Stay safe, guys. In terms of content, if there's nothing new, no news, there's nothing going on, then I guess the channel will be quiet for a while. But if we're back the next game week 32, then I'll be back as well. So thank you very much if you're watching. Try not to go stir crazy if you are in quarantine, and as always, have a good one.